Well, hello, model building fans. It's Brian, and welcome back to BG Model Workshop. And we're doing another update on our USACC build. So here's the cab. Got everybody in primer, or most everybody in primer, like 95% of it's in primer. And after, I don't know what it is, but after I did the primer work on this, I was test fitting the hood. I'm like, dude, there's a huge gap right through here, right there. Oh, it doesn't work on this channel. Right. So decided to go ahead and fix that. You saw the little photos there. That's how we kind of went about doing it. So we're still working on the sanding it down phase. There's a little bit of a ridge there, just a teeny little bit of a ridge. You got to blend that in a little bit. And then we might need to sand it back a little bit so that it has a proper gap all the way around. Everything's looking really, really good, except for one spot, which is right there. And little BG will help us out there. Any great folks, there we go. So this little weird little dip that's right, no, not this guy, he's not the weird little dip. This little dip that's right in here, that is a bit of an annoyance on my part. So I'm like, I might end up going back and sanding that, adding some, sanding back the primer, adding some, a little chunk of styrene there, and then blending that to bring that forward that way a little bit so that it all meets up better. So right now it's not quite looking too great. Now, I mean, this is not going to be a show winner build by any stretch of the imagination. However, I do want to do the bestest I can with this. So I know I can fix that. I know it's within my skill set, and I'm going to take a whack at it. No, didn't open the cowl vent on this one. Didn't batsonize that there, but I did get a text message from somebody in the community yesterday that was like, yeah, it looks like you didn't open your cowl vent. I did. So not giving any spoilers. I'm not going to give out any hints on who that was, but he likes to say the word wheels very, very, that's how he says wheels. But yeah, windshield wipers, they're kind of softly molded, aren't they? I haven't sanded over those hardly at all, so they look kind of soft. They could end up going to the wayside also, quite easily, as a matter of fact. And speaking of removing things, I did take off the key locks on all the doors. I kind of like that. Looks so good. It's ghosting through just a teensy bit there. I'm also considering taking the door handles off because they don't look scale. They don't look to scale. So there's a possibility that might go away. We do have a lot of work to do on the hood, and then also up here in the mouth. It's like a big mouth bass. There we go. So we added some styrene rod. Here, BG. Added some styrene rod in here, welded it in with some cement, started sanding it all back. Really liking how that's looking. It's looking good and smooth. Now, I'm sure on the one-to-one pickup that this is all like separate pieces of tin and everything, or metal, that are all kind of jumbled together and screwed together or whatever. But I'm like, I want a nice, clean, mild custom look. So we're going to fill that in. Did that on both sides, and again, need to do a little bit more down here in this corner. I cut the rod just a teensy bit too short. Don't. But that's fine. I can add that, and then I can also dress this seam right here too. I might just try sanding that back in on both sides, and if that does the trick, then great. If not, we'll add some more rod in there and then sand that all down. But otherwise, that's that for that. I mean, if it wasn't for the hood gappage and then wanting to blend this in a little bit here, we probably would have been on to final paint color. Let's see, chassis. Our buddy Luca had mentioned, once we get some primer and paint on this, the motor mounts that we created for the transmission and the motor mounts would sort of like disappear, and they kind of do. I mean, they look like they're supposed to be there to my eye. So I'm pretty stoked about that. They do look like they're supposed to be there. They don't look so clunky. And yes, these are not gussets, they're fish blades. So yeah, whoops, new word to the vocabulary. So there we go. And then on, that's the chassis, that's the body, this is the cream filling in the sandwich, I guess. This is in the cookie. Primed the whole thing up, regular old Tamiya primer, and then came back with right there. There it is. This stuff here, the surface primer, this stuff is super thick. It says liquid, but it's barely so. And then that's got a brush on it. Oops, got a brush in it. So I spread some on there, and then while it was starting to tack up, I hit it with that brush tip and just stippled everything. Did each panel individually on the sides too. Gave it this really cool looking texture. Maybe that comes up on camera. Yeah, that comes up pretty okay. I'll do another coat of primer over the top of it to seal it in, because some of this went right down to the plastic while I was doing the stippling. I did it right over the floor mat. Don't, but I like the texture that it gives, so I'm kind of stoked about that. So maybe when we paint this all up and do a flat coat over this part here, it'll look a little bit more like, I don't know, carpeting. I didn't want to do any flocking on this. I like doing flocking. Flocking's okay, but with this type of thing, you're never going to see it because it's going to be buried down inside there. I did do some texturing on the door cards. I think I might sand this back though, because this looks like it might need to be actually metal. And then finally, here is our dash piece, and I had a gigantic sink mark right in there, and then right down in there. Perhaps you can see them. You can see the shininess from the primer that was already on there. I'll rotate this around a little bit. So yeah, right through there, and then right through there. So I did some filling in there, and then did some spot priming, and now I just ghosted on some primer over the whole thing to see how smooth it looks. And I mean, it's looking, I'm not seeing any, the only little dip I see is this guy. I'm not seeing any little dips in there or anything like that, so I think we might have that sorted out and blended in nicely. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Normally I wouldn't worry about that if that was like on the bottom of something, but dude, this is like right here on the top of the gauge cluster, and it's going to be right in the windshield, right prominent, right there. So I was like, that, I can't let that slide. And then because of that, I was like, oh, I can't let that gap slide in the hood. So there we go. All right, y'all. We're going to talk to you in the next one. We're going to get onto some things here. We're hustling as much as we can, but it's not looking good. So we're not sure we're going to make the deadline on this one. Hey, get off your face. But we'll talk to you in the next one and show you what we got going on. Y'all take it easy, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye now.